we're going to learn something more interesting. When we talk about the numbers in the real world, and we deal with the numbers, right? A lot. We deal with the numbers. We see numbers and we see statistics and we see the ratios and everything. And sometimes you're gonna be surprised by that. Let me give you one quick example. Okay. Player A, player B. Okay. Now let's look at their performance. We talk about a basketball game. So the first half and the second half. All right. For both first half and the second half, both of them were in court for some time, and they make attempts and then they shoot, and then we look at the shooting percentage to see who is better. So this one, player 1 made 2 out of 5. That's what he did. And then the second player, he made a 1 out of 3. Let's look at the shooting percent. So that will be 2 out of 5, so 2 over 5, and convert that into percentage, 40%. It's pretty good. And this one, 1 out of 3, 33%. Actually, it's the 33.333. So player A is better. Okay. Now in the second half, so the second half, he made 3 out of 5. So the shooting percentage will be 60%, right? Right? Out of 5. And this because he was in the whole half, and he is like shooting as crazy, and he made 10, 17. Can you find the percent 10 out of 17? Guess what? I tell you, 58. Just by looking at the shooting percentage, you think this guy is better. All right, but what about the whole court? For the whole game, player A made 5, 2 plus 3, out of 5 plus 5, 10. So that's 5 out of 10. So the shooting percent is 50%. Okay. Second person, he made 11, right? 1 and a 10 out of 3 plus 17 out of 20. So his shooting percent is 11 over 20, which is a 55%. Wait a second. How come this is higher than that? So this is higher, but suddenly this is higher. That's called a numerical surprise. Okay, that's a magic of a math. That's why the math is so interesting. When you do statistics, when you look at this table, then you probably want to look at things in different angle. All right, that's when you deal with the numbers in the real world. Be careful. Don't be tricked by just some numbers or some percents. Okay? All right, now, next important or interesting concept is this. I give you a little two-way table, and I explain that to you. Two-way table like that. Okay, here is the fact, and here is the test result. If the fact is positive, test result is positive, then those people, we call this as a true positive. That's what we want. That means our test result agree with the fact. But if the fact is positive and the test result is negative, we call this as a false negative. Okay? And if in fact something negative but the test result come back positive, this one is called false positive. And this one is true negative. Make sense? Because the fact is negative and the test result is negative. How do we explain this? How do we read this table? It depends on the situation. Okay, so this one, we call that type 1 error. That's a mistake, right? That's a type 1 error. And this, we call that type 2 error. All right, now, if you try to reduce your type 1 error, you try to make your type 1 error as small as possible, as little as possible. We try to give minimum false positive. So I'm going to be very, very careful. Do not give out too many positives, because otherwise you're going to give a lot of positive to the negative people. So you're going to be have a pretty loose standard. But if that's the case, then your test will let a lot of actual pass. In fact, a lot of past people let them go away. So if you try to reduce the type 1 error, in most of the time, your type 2 error will go up. This difference or this change it's not like a sum, zero sum. It's not like that. It's not like the type 1 error reduced by 1%, then the type 2 error increased by 1%. It doesn't work that way. There's something behind. It's more complicated than this. But generally speaking is, you try to reduce type 1 error, then you might have to increase the type 2. Or if you try to if you control your type 2 error, try to make that as little as possible. We try to have less false negative. Then we are going to have more people give them positive. So we're going to have like a different, the test when you control that could be either too loose or too strict. So that's in that case, then you're going to control the change or control the type 1 and type 2 error. Now, the question is, which one I really care, or which one is more serious? When I make 2 mistakes, I choose the one, I want to minimize the one that seems more serious. Now, I'll give you a couple of examples, okay? So the first one is cancer. Okay, what does that mean? That means, in fact, someone has cancer, which is positive. Someone do not have cancer, so that is negative. And you run some test. The test shows that he or she has positive. She is positive. She has cancer. That's a true positive. That's perfect. We identify this person. He has cancer. We can treat him. However, if the test result come back negative, so someone has cancer, but the test couldn't identify that. It is very dangerous, because when no one knows, you couldn't detect the cancer in the early stage. Things might get worse, and it's going to be out of control at the end. So we think the type 2 error in this situation, we are not happy. So we're going to be very careful with the type 2 error. We try to limit our type 2 error. For those people who do not have cancer, but the test shows positive. Okay, so if someone doesn't have cancer, but when he go to the test shows that he or she has cancer, what is he going to do? He probably will do the test again, or run different tests, or go to the second doctor, get the second opinion, or do something else. There's some way at the end that we're going to, he is going to find his way to reduce that. So at the end, then he become like the true negative. So we don't, in the cancer detection or the cancer diagnostic, we would think the type 2 error is more serious. So we're going to control that. All right, so this is the cancer situation. And what about the drug test? Okay, when the athlete go to the Olympic, so someone use drugs, someone do not use drugs, and then they do the test. The test shows someone is using drug. Hey, he uses drugs, and the test to find out, which is perfect. We catch him, so he cannot go to the game. And this one, someone used the drug, the test didn't find out, we let him go. He go to play game, he probably wins some medal. Okay, so that's a type 2 error. We're not happy about that either, but it happens, right? Because no test is 100% accurate. Okay, so that's the thing, keep in mind. Now, what about those people? Those athletes who are not using drug, but the test result shows that he or she takes drug. So what the committee will do? They will suspend him from the game. So go home, okay? You're not going to play the game. Sorry, he's not using drugs. So we think this is more serious for the type 1 error in case of the drug test for an athlete, because this one, it's not like the cancer thing, right? You can always run another test or something. But for the Olympic Games, you might not have enough chance. And also, even when you run the test, which is going to be like 2 or 3 days later, the game's already over. So you have less chance to make up or less chance to run another test. So we think this is more serious. So that's the drug test situation. What's the other thing? Murderer or serial killer. All right, we'll try to catch this criminal. someone is a serial killer, someone is not a serial killer. Here, the test result, it can be like the court decision. The court said, you are guilty. You are a serial killer. He is. That's a true positive. Now, someone is not. For some reason, there's some evidence problem or whatever. The court said, you are criminal. You are criminal. You are the serial killer. I'm this person to put in jail. And he is not happy, so he's gonna find a lawyer. Try to get the more evidence, and so there's some way for him to get back. Type 1 error, catch the wrong person. But this serial killer, you let him go. Okay, so the court result said you are innocent. Let him go, or even not catching him. That's very dangerous. Serial killer at large. So he's still somewhere in a certain area, and that's very, very dangerous. Most of the people will care about error the most in this kind of situation. Or there's some graphs. Is that right? It's a detector. So in fact, somebody someone didn't lie. The machine find out that he's a liar because the machine has that little needle. If he lies, the machine find out. So that's a true positive. And if he lied, the machine did. So that is that's a false negative. Okay, so could be this person is really, really strong mindedly, and he can control his emotions. He can, even control his brain wave or whatever. So that happens. And this thing, someone is not lying. He's telling the truth, but because he's too nervous, the machine falsely identify him as a liar. So that's the type 1 error. And this is no lie, and the machine was really calm, shaking. So that's a true negative. So these two, it depends on the situation. So you can see that I don't really know, when you think type 1 error is more serious or type 2 error is more serious. Now, how do you remember this? I tell you a little trick. Type 1 error is a false positive. Think about this. Pregnancy test. Okay. Someone is pregnant, and you do the test, you find out someone is pregnant and failed. You couldn't find it. Not pregnant. Identify this person pregnant. That's a false positive, right? That's a false positive. That's a type 1 error. So there's a very, very easy example to help you remember what is the type 1 error. So type 1 error is false positive. Think about your brother is pregnant. If your brother is pregnant, that's a false positive. That's a type 1 error. If you can remember that, then that'll be good. Or you think your boyfriend is pregnant. I don't know. It's just find whatever boy or guy, young, someone who we think cannot be pregnant, but he's pregnant, then the test result shows that he's pregnant. That's a type 1 error. So that's an easy way. I think that's an easy way to remember this. I hope that will help. All right, now this session is fairly small because we talk about the numerical surprises, and we talk about this two-way table, and we explain what is the false positive and a false negative, type 1, type 2 error. It just gives you some basic idea, and I think after this class, you get smarter.